ChatGPT has started a very intense conversation.
ChatGPT.
GPT.
Thinks it's the most revolutionary thing since the iPhone.
Venture capital interest in AI startups has skyrocketed.
After the revolutionary launch of ChatGPT, AI has been the trending topic that we can't stop hearing about. So we are very fortunate to have an expert on AI, who is also an S3 Space member, to share a little bit about his valuable insight with us on AI. Paul is the CEO and co-founder at EasyCode, a Y Combinator-backed startup building an AI coding assistant that not 2, not 3, but 10 times developers' productivity. So just a quick background on Y Combinator. It is an American tech startup accelerator that has been used to launch more than 4,000 companies, including Airbnb, Coinbase, and DoorDash. After working as a software engineer in the Bay Area, he came back to Toronto to pursue startups. Paul holds dual degree in computer science and business administration from University of Waterloo. So Paul, I know you just had a really exciting product that launched recently. Can you please share a little bit about your journey from the idea phase to the funding and now to the final launch?
Sure, yeah. So the new product we launched is called EasyCode, and it's essentially an AI coding assistant that helps developers build 10 times faster. We have about 60,000 users who are actively using the product. The thing we do really well is we build AI in a way that it understands the developer's code base, so they can actually get answers that are very specific to their situation. Basically, it means that instead of asking ChatGPT, how do I do something? You can ask, how do I do something in my context, in my project? Kind of going back a little bit, we actually started the company in late 2021 with a different idea around leveraging AI and actually VR as well to do soft skill training. And that was the idea we got into YC with. We were funded in 2022, but decided to pivot in the latter half of 2022. This current product we started working on in late 2022. So it's still a very new product, and we're learning a lot throughout this process.
Funding is a very big component for any startup. So what advice or experience can you share with the audience about how you received that funding for your company?
First of all, it was a very tough experience, so I don't want to make it sound easy. So we raised funding in actually a smaller round in late 2021 and another round in 2022. I think there are a couple of things to be mindful of. The first, just in terms of mindset, you really have to truly believe in whatever you're doing. For some founders, that's really easy to do, but especially for founders that are very meticulous, there are a lot of unknowns that haven't been figured out about the business. So even as a founder, it's very normal to question certain aspects of your business where risks are still not addressed. But with that said, it's very important to wholeheartedly believe in what you're doing, and that can take some blind faith. And that type of confidence really comes through when you're talking to investors, whether or not as a founder you truly believe and are committed to that idea. And then a little bit about the fundraising process. It's very much just a sales funnel, right? So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. In my own experience, I talked to over 100 investors, and most of them said no. That's probably not a surprise for anyone who has done it, even for very successful founders. So it's critical to not give up, especially in the early phases. And it's very easy to doubt yourself in that moment and give up. But really, you should treat it as a learning opportunity and figure out, okay, why are they saying no? Go into those conversations with the goal of learning about what investors care about. What are the things you say that really light up their eyes? And take that as feedback and iterate on your pitch. And if you treat it as a numbers game, you'll find that the more investors talk to you, the smoother your pitch will go. And ultimately, you're going to get the first investor to say yes. And that's when things start turning around. Because investors also have FOMO, so they like to invest in hot startups. And nobody wants to be the first person in. So once you get the first check-in, things get a little bit easier over time. And then lastly, I think fundraising is just a process of the larger startup game. So it's very easy to feel like, you've kind of made it when you raise significant funding. But the truth is, like, the game is just starting. That's literally the first stake on the table. So it's really important to work on the business and work on the product and not focus too much on fundraising.
Okay, so with the release of ChatGPT, what is your insight on the market going forward? What do you think is the future of everything with AI?
That's a really tough question because predicting the market is like impossible. Everything I say needs to be taken with a grain of salt. From what I'm seeing so far, there is a large number of essentially AI-based startups that are trying to make differences, and they're building point solutions. We're sort of in that category as well, but I think it's going to be a uphill battle for these startups because if you look across the landscape, larger companies like Microsoft or Google or any large enterprise, they also have access to the same fundamental technology like ChatGPT or GPT-4, and they have certain advantages in terms of whether it's resources or distribution channels or data. All of those will help improve their AI products even faster. So it's going to be very interesting to see how startups will compete in this environment. So what I think is going to happen is that one, the larger companies, the established players will take advantage of the new advancement in AI to broaden their product scope and their capabilities and really try to grab a larger chunk of the market share. So we're going to see expansion there. And this is kind of coupled with the fact that economically, we're going in a kind of a downturn. So a lot of companies, from a buyer perspective, are trying to consolidate and reduce costs. So there's some natural synergy between the larger companies offering more capabilities and the buyers wanting to cut costs. For startups, I think it's going to be about, are you the one that, one, can execute very quickly and get to market fast before the slower moving incumbents? And two, are you able to find a truly unique product angle that is going to be differentiated in the long term, such that the larger company cannot copy what you're doing? And doing those two things well, executing quickly, as well as finding those unique angles is going to be critical for startups in this environment. And we're definitely feeling the pain of that. We're trying to move very quickly and be very close to our users to find those unique insights to help us productize.
We actually have a lot of people who are looking to start their startups in Canada or move their business to Canada. What advice would you give to people who are looking to start their business or startups in Canada?
We actually thought very hard about this when we incorporated the company. The decision was to either incorporate in Canada or in the States. And I think there are a lot of benefits of starting the business in Canada. The obvious ones are, one, the general trend. Particularly, the government is very supportive of startups in general. There are different incubators, government-funded programs, that really help reduce the friction in that initial startup phase. Some of these are services, but there's also actual funding for startups as well. There's also something called SHRED, which is a refundable tax credit that really encourages innovation. So these are kind of just some technical things. But two, I think it's a great place to find talent. We have schools like University of Waterloo, University of Toronto, UBC, and other great universities that are pumping out great talent. And talent is the lifeblood of a successful startup. So also great for that. But I think the other thing to think about is to not limit yourself as a Canadian startup or Canadian company. I think we live in a globalized society now, so it's dangerous to just look at Canada and think of yourself as a Canadian company. I encourage founders to talk to customers, talk to investors, talk to other startups in the States, in Europe, in Asia, and really learn from them. Nowadays, it's very easy to move capital. A lot of investors in the States or even in other parts of the world are looking to invest in Canadian startups as well. So yeah, just keep your eyes open and take advantage of what Canada can offer, but don't limit yourself to being a Canadian startup.
So I know you and your team are spread out all over the world, working in different areas remotely. So how has working in a co-working space helped you and your team stay in sync?
I love co-working spaces, and I love the space here.
Oh, thank you.
It's really beautiful space. For me, I think it serves two purposes. One is it helps me be more productive. But two, it provides me with a clear boundary between work and life. I know when I leave the space, I can kind of focus on my personal life. And for a startup founder, it's very easy to be working all the time. And as much as that's a good thing because you're working hard on your business, you tend to get burned out faster. So having clear boundaries between work and life, I think, is a more sustainable game to play. We've had team members that use co-working space as well, and I think they have similar reasons. I think for one particular team member, he also just enjoyed the atmosphere. You can talk to people, you can get a water cooler chat, you can talk to other founders or other folks who are working there. And for extroverts, especially, that really energizes them and gets them going.